Multiplication or division of integers is even easier. If you have two numbers being multiplied, such as -3 times 2, you simply first write down all the signs you see. If you don't see them, they're positive and they're not doing anything anyway. And then multiply the absolute values. 3 times 2 is 6, so I'll put 6 there, and that's the answer. Okay? -3 times -2, write down all the signs you see, is negative. 3 times 2 is 6, and -6 is 6. The same rules apply for division. -6 divided by 2, write down all the signs you see, and you get -6 divided by 2 is 3. And the check for that would be to multiply these two right here. And if you multiply them, you do get -6. All right, -12 divided by -4 is negative. 12 divided by 4 is 3. -3 is +3. And your check would be 3 times -4, which is -12. Okay? So it works, the same rule works for multiplication as works for division. It gets interesting when exponents come along and you have something like -1 to the 50th power, which means you have 50 negatives in front of 1 times 1 times a lot of ones. 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1, which is all going to come out to being 1. 50 negatives are an even number of negatives, so this is a +1. But similarly, -1 to the 51 power would have 51 negatives in front of it, which would be a negative. And 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, 51 times, is still going to be 1. So -1 to the 51 power would end up being -1. If you want to multiply a whole lot of numbers, like -2 times 3 times -4 times -5, just write down all the signs you see. 2 times 3, and then do the absolute values. 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 is 24, times 5 is 120, and negative is -120. All right, I'm going to show you one of my favorite examples, and that is using rate times time equals distance. And we're going to start with a car going 30 miles per hour, and we're going to have it travel for 2 hours, and of course we expect to see it go 60 miles. All right, and I'm going to demonstrate that by pulling my favorite little car over here. Uh-oh, wait. Just a second. Let me make sure you can see things through it. There it goes. All right, well, here it is. It's traveling down the road at 30 miles an hour. And when it gets to 0, which is right where the flag is, you say, where will it be in 2 hours? So that's kind of the origin. And of course, it's going to be right down there at 60 if it's starting from 0. Okay? So, all right, so that makes sense. So let's look at a car that's going at -30 miles per hour. And let's let it go for 2 hours. And this example came from a book by a very creative person. Now you know the answer should be, what, negative 60. And I'll write it in because I can't hold the car and the pen at the same time. All right, let's go ahead and look at it though. What does it mean, negative 30? Well, it means it's driving in reverse at 30 miles an hour, backwards. And when it gets to 0, which is where the flag is, you ask, where will it be in 2 hours? Well, if it keeps going, it's going to be down at negative 60. All right, so let's just leave it there for a second. Oh, maybe I should move it. Yeah, I'll move it. Okay. All right, now we want to look at the situation where we're going at 30 miles an hour. But instead of the speed being backwards, let's let time be backwards. And think about what we did when it was 2 hours. When it got to 0 here, we popped a question, where will it be in 2 hours? Well, this time when we get to 0, we're going to ask a different question. We're going to ask, where was it 2 hours ago? We're going to go backwards in time. So let's get our car. And this time it's going to be moving forwards. And it's moving at 30 miles an hour. And when we get to the flag, we're going to ask the question, where was it 2 hours ago? Where was it 2 hours ago? Let's look at it again. It's going forward. And when it gets to the flag, instead of where will it be, we're going to say, where was it 2 hours ago? Well, of course, it was back there at 60. So at negative 60. So it was at negative 60 miles down the road. All right, and we have one other possibility here, negative 30 miles per hour and a negative 2 hours. Okay, well, and we expect the answer to be a positive 60 miles. And you got to notice that you don't want to have to think through this every time you're doing the problem. It's a good thing there's easy rules. But let's go ahead, and this time it's going in reverse. And it's going down the road in reverse. And when it gets to 0, you're going to say, where was it 2 hours ago? And of course, it was back there where it started at 60. Okay. And so that's the end of our discussion there. And so you can see that there's a double whammy sort of when you have the two negatives there they're both affecting where the answer is. But it's definitely not a balancing process like it was in addition.